Namaste and welcome to the 6th season of Youth TV show produced by Leadership Academy.
Our guest for today's episode of Global Perspectives is Mrs. Mary CHITTLEBOROUGh.
She is a director for Centre for Equality and Equals Foundation and a member of the Australian Council for Private Education and Training South Australian Committee.
You are an executive with over 18 years of experience in the field of commerce and industry. So can you please tell us about your experience?
I think the theme that is strong throughout all of my experiences is working with people. People from all over the world, of course including Australia, which is a very multicultural country. And the experiences that I remember the most are those that have led me to have deeper understanding about cultural competence and about the different skills and talents that individuals bring to the table. So I have learnt most from others. And in working in the field of education and training, we have a unique privilege to watch people grow from the point that they begin through to transformation actually. So that has been the highlight of my career.
You began your career in local government and manufacturing and later on moved to private investment company. What is the difference you found out and your experiences?
When I left high school, I completed matriculation with year 12 and I got into university, but I was so eager to work and have real experience that I deferred my university study and got a job as a junior trainee in office administration in local government. And from there I had many experiences. It was a wonderful time because I got to work with people who had different occupations and I got to understand a lot about human behaviour and about how business and government works, even at a junior level. And from there I went into manufacturing, where I really had my beginning into human resources because I was responsible for accounts and payroll. And I think overall, when I look back on all of my experiences, there has been a strong theme in working with others and working with people. The thing I love about business and industry is that we get things done. Business is a great vehicle to create positive change. That's been my experience and where I wanted to devote my influence within business. And so after leaving manufacturing, I worked for a private investment firm, internal recruitment. And of course the pressure is there, the demands are there to achieve outcomes because the profit and the bottom line of expenses is always important in business.
Can you tell us about your commitment towards promoting human rights and empowering people through education and industry and management?
Education is light. Without light, there's darkness. So if you liken education to a candle, a flame, it has the ability to transform people's lives. Education alone isn't enough. You need education and action. And what I have loved about my experience in working with Equals International and of course the broader group with its other organisations and the opportunity to work with people who are disadvantaged or marginalised, and it may be a single parent, it may be a young person that hasn't got the opportunity that others may have, or it could be an older person that has maybe been disengaged from the workforce for some reason. So what I take great satisfaction in our organisation, we are all working together to serve our students and to serve our clients. No matter what role or position you have, our students are number one. Our clients are number one. And so when we get to work directly with people and we can see them go from hopelessness to hopefulness and ignorance to empowerment and knowledge, it is really rewarding actually. So I have had many examples of working with international students as well, and it makes me feel very fulfilled in the work that I do because I can see that it has a positive effect on not just one person but a family and a community.
You are the Chief Operating Officer of Equals. Can you tell us a little more about the organization?
Equals International started 25 years ago. It began as a women's development and training centre, and quickly grew and transformed to the needs of the community around us. And today we deliver accredited training, which is recognised by government, and we deliver it to hundreds of students at our campus in Adelaide, and those students come from all over the world. We have many students from Nepal, from the continent of Africa and South America and Europe, and of course Asia. And so the organisation has a focus on accredited learning, and within that, health is a big focus for us. We deliver qualifications in nursing and in aged care and community services, as well as remedial therapies and Ayurveda, which is very much growing in popularity in Australia.
Can you please tell us about the Youth on the Move?
When Equals began, in our earlier days, we did a lot of work with young people who were disadvantaged or marginalised. They may have had little or broken education, or come from families that may have been broken or unsupportive in developing their potential. So we designed some very innovative programs. One of them was called Future Directions, and it was all about igniting the potential of a young person, because we are all born with different gifts and skills and talents, and we need the people around us to support and nurture that for us to be able to grow. And so this program supported young people to have a vision. And it wasn't just focused on empowering them emotionally or spiritually, but it will practically, because action has to follow. So we taught them how to find work, how to present themselves, how to understand and to plan and to set goals. But we started with uncovering what their skills and interests were. And from those programs came many, many graduates. And one day there was a girl called Tina Fear, and she was came into our office and came in and spoke to Katina, who is the founder of Equals. And she said, "Why does nobody recognise us? Nobody cares about us." And from that came the initiative and the desire to recognise them, because actually what they had achieved was monumental. They had gone from virtually street kids, children, to being active members of society, employed, able to hold down employment. So we created this event called Youth on the Move, and it was supported by local business and industry and government through sponsorship. And it was an awards ceremony where we could recognise the skills and the talents that those young people had developed. And at the time, we had engaged a local celebrity who all of the young people loved, who inspired them greatly. And so it began as an awards ceremony, but Youth on the Move today is a foundation which we used as a vehicle to help disadvantaged young people to achieve their goal. So young people can apply for a scholarship or support, and we will look to see how we can support them, and if we can, then Youth on the Move is a way to give them access to sometimes financial support, sometimes it's a mentor.
How do you feel to be the mentor of such young people who have transitioned into active members of the society?
It's very rewarding work, and as much as they may learn from us, we learn from them. At Equals, our key principles and spiritual values are equality, diversity and unity. So everyone who comes into our office, our building, our institution has a voice, and we care about what they have to say and have to offer. And I think when you are open to learning from other people, and when you are of service to them in a way that actually helps facilitate their special skills and talents, I don't think there is any greater reward actually, is to help transform someone's life. So it's very rewarding work. And sometimes we keep in touch with many of the graduates of our programs, and we hear that they have settled, they have gone on to further education and done degrees and master's degrees and PhDs and had their families. And so we see the scope of influence that we have as one organisation in a big world. And it's very meaningful work to us.
You have designed a series of skill development training. How do you evaluate the motivational factor to enhance the youth?
We look to evaluate somebody's needs when they come to us. All of our students are interviewed so that we understand what their needs are, what their goals are, if they have them. And we measure our success throughout their journey with Equals and after they leave. So we see real evidence of the changes in their lives and the progress that they make towards their goals. And from that, we are able to incorporate feedback to adjust a program or an initiative to suit somebody's needs, or to keep on in the way that we have going. So feedback is critical for us. We seek it in many ways and throughout somebody's journey. And I think in business you have to be attuned to the voice of your customer, because if you are not listening to your customer, then your business becomes obsolete pretty quickly. So for us, understanding what our students need and want from us is very important. And some of the things that we have learnt from them are around, people come to undertake a qualification, but they actually receive much more. When they come to Equals, we look at pursuing all areas of advancement, not just their intellectual training, but their emotional, their spiritual development. And so all of the students that come through our organisation, no matter what qualification they study, undertake training in problem solving, in communications, in human rights, which is very important to our organisation, and spiritual intelligence. Because these are the things that we can see are needed in our graduates to be able to sustain balanced and healthy lives and to sustain employment. So we seek to develop balanced people. And we look at the feedback that they give us to help us customise that training for their needs, but also we take feedback from industry. Because we are a vocational institute, we have to deliver what industry or employers want. So we seek feedback from them, and that has a huge influence over the way that we reach our outcomes, and one of the reasons why we have been so successful in what we do.
You have trained and mentored people from various age groups. Which one do you find it easier to mentor?
I think young people have a special energy and vitality that we see. I feel a great motivation, because you actually absorb that energy that comes from young people. And also the ability to influence is strong. I have many memories of different kinds of people, but my fondest are often with the youth.
You have established a supplier status in United Nations for education, training and consultant. How do you evaluate your achievement?
We work quite closely with the United Nations. Some years ago we achieved supplier status as an education provider with them, which was through a process of application and satisfying requirements. But Equals has since subscribed to the United Nations Global Compact, which is a set of 10 principles devoted to human rights and promoting of human rights, anti-corruption, labour and so forth. And we use our affiliation with the United Nations to advance our work and our principles in the area of empowering people and promoting human rights and valuing diversity. So the work that we do with the United Nations in embodying the principles that they have espoused in their Millennium Development Goals and the Global Compact is very important to the work that we do. And it also connects us into an international community of government, other businesses and civil society, where we can hope to influence change and create positive outcomes. And as I had mentioned before, business is a great vehicle to achieve outcomes, because generally business gets things done.
You have been working as a trainer, consultant and a manager in designing, delivering and assessing programs since past 15 years, more than 15 years. So how was the experience working this way?
The experiences I've had in different companies in different countries has led me to have an appreciation for understanding different people. I lived in the Cayman Islands for 2 years, and there I helped design a program for government because they had such a problem with disengaged youth. The country had gone from virtually subsistence and poverty to extreme wealth in a very short space of time, in a matter of just 1 or 2 generations. And that created some negative influences for young people because they weren't actually empowered to work and be actively contributing to society. The experience there had many similarities to Australia, but also differences. But I think what I have learned is that we have more similarities than we do have differences all over the world. People are people, and despite our cultural differences and our rituals and the differences that we all have because of where we have grown up, we actually share more of the same. We all need love, we all need support, we all value family. And so I think what I have learned is that the world is but one country and mankind its citizens. And I think the more that you travel, the more that you experience that in actuality.
You have worked both in the commercial sector as well as in the motivational sector. What are the differences that you have found working in these two separate fields?
I think for us at Equals, work is almost worship for us. It is actually. And so every day is motivating, and you have challenges, and you have to be very resilient and build resilience with your staff to cope with the challenges. But there is motivation everywhere, and there are good things that happen. So for me, commercial work and working to motivate, it is the same.
Could you assess us your role towards the value of education and culture?
Australia is very multicultural, and one of the key themes that we hear from employers of our graduates and others is they need people to be culturally competent. And what that means is to have people who are understanding of and capable and competent to work with people of other cultures. Despite the differences, as I mentioned, there are many similarities, but simple things can become big problems if they are not dealt with. And so as an education provider, we have a responsibility and a focus on actually teaching our students how to be culturally competent. And of course, my role is modelling the behaviour that we want to achieve in our graduates, and we work very hard to do that. And to do that, you have to get to know and to talk with the different cultures. And my experience is that if you are respectful and open-minded, there is much that you can learn and reflect back into the education of our students, so that when they graduate, they are confident and empowered culturally to be able to meet the needs of whatever client, whatever background that they may have.
Would you like to venture in some other field as well?
We have several organisations under the Equals group. It began with Equals International and has extended to, of course, Youth on the Move, Aspects of Healing, which is an integrative health centre, the Centre for Equality, which is an organisation which is registered and recognised with the United Nations as having consultative status, and that is our human rights vehicle. Our first project has been the development of a free school. We have built a free school in Nigeria, in a very remote part of the country, called Akanu Ohafia. And last year in September, we took our first intake of young students, preschool, 5-year-old students. And it is an education, a school, which is given to the people who would not perhaps otherwise have access to education. Universal education is absolutely critical in our world. And if we are to empower and really make a difference, we have to educate people. So when the opportunity came to create a free school, which is run on principles of sustainability and justice and equality, access to education, that is very meaningful to us. So that is a big focus for our organisation at this time, and we are always looking at how we can influence and expand our horizons. as an organisation, we intend to pursue higher education status.
You have designed and delivered a customized Train the Trainer program for Singaporean teachers and vocational trainers, and also mentored several graduates. Can you tell us about the program?
In Australia, to deliver vocational training, you have to undertake a qualification in adult education. And so the experience in designing a program for a different market in Singapore was very valuable, because we customised it to the cultural and environmental needs of the Singapore community. And from that, we were able to empower them with adult learning principles and accelerated learning principles. Adults learn best, and people in general learn best by doing and experiencing, because then it becomes concrete in your mind. And so the process of teaching them the skills and the techniques to be able to apply in an adult learning environment was very different to what they had experienced themselves. So at the end, of course, it was successful, and they were able to then be accredited and go forth and teach.
What advice would you like to give to the young people who aspire to work in the commercial sector as well as the motivational sector side by side?
I think the advice is that education is not just about regurgitating knowledge that comes from some other source. It's about finding your own voice and understanding who you are and the specialness of who you are and what it is, what unique contribution it is that you have to offer. And so if I was to give advice to a young person in whatever sector, it would be to find your own voice, to be a sponge, to soak up knowledge from not just school or academic, but from all over the community, to volunteer, to be of service in your community, to pursue formal education. These are all wonderful ways to empower yourself and to give yourself more experiences where you can learn where it is that you can make a difference.
We appreciate that you gave us your valuable time for the show. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of today's episode. For further details, you can call us at 01-425-7250 or email us at leadershipacademyktm@gmail.com. We will be back next week with a new episode of Youth TV Show. Hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you.